All right, Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praises to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai Bashem Rachak Wadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well, and also honor and salutation to those of you who are of the hopeful elect and are out to teaching the word in sincerity and truth. All right, so today I wanted to talk a little bit about I was kind of meditating, excuse me, on what I would do a show on. And something that's been sticking out in my mind last few days. I've been reading in Second Maccabees and trying to comb around a little bit as I'm reading and get a lot of the secular details to this time period, just to refresh myself. And one story that stuck out to me the most, and we mentioned it in the Tuesday show. But I wanted to talk about it a little bit here, in that. So the story is about one Eleazar, who was an older man that was a scribe in Israel. Um, and at this time, as you know, when you read in Maccabees, there was a lot of turmoil that Antiochus Epiphanes was bringing on the nation of Israel, and it was decreed, or not decreed, but it was actually, let me I'll read it. Let's see. The story starts about at 18, but I just want to read about some of the stuff that was going on. Actually, it's good to. I'll start at 6. Start at 6. All right. So it says, neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient feasts, or to profess himself at all to be a Jew. Actually, I'll start at 1. So it says, not long after this, the king sent an old man of Athens to compel the Jews to depart from the laws of their fathers, and not to live after the laws of the Most High, and to pollute also the temple in Jerusalem, and to call it the temple of Jupiter and Olympius, and that in Gerizim of Jupiter, the defender of strangers. And they did desire that dwelt in the place. Uh, the coming in of the mischief was sore and grievous to the people, for the temple was filled with riot and reveling by the Gentiles, who dallied with harlots and had to do with women within the circuit of the holy places, and besides that, brought in things that were not lawful. Right? It says the altar also was filled with profane things which the law forbiddeth. So these are the things that were going on in this time, right? And a part of that to I don't want to say antagonize. I don't know why that's the word that came to mind. But to torment the children of Israel, they were forced to eat some of these things that were being sacrificed on the altar, mainly the pig. And they tried to convince Eleazar to do that, to eat of that sacrifice, and he refused. And I wanted to talk about that because of the time we're in, right? Matter of fact, let me go. I was gonna stay in here, but to do commentary, you need some scriptures, right? So this is what is it? Is it Jeremiah 31? Let me do it like this. I don't want to play around with it. This is Jeremiah 30 and 7. Actually, let me go up in here. It says, alas, for that great day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. Right? So because we're coming on upon this time of Jacob's trouble, um, I find it comforting to read these kinds of stories. um, to speak about them, because they liberate your mind. And even in within this scripture here, this verse here, but he shall be saved out of it, right? There's a freeing feeling that you get, knowing that even though times will get difficult, that the Lord is going to save us and deliver us um, from those troubles. And you want to have let me see. I think it's, yep. Let's go here. This is Philippians 2:5. It says, "Let this mind be in you, which was also in Hamashiach Yahushai, who being in the form of the Most High thought it not robbery to be equal with the Most High, but made himself of no reputation, and took upon him the form of a servant, and was made in likeness of men. And being found in fashion as a man, he humbled himself and became obedient unto death, even the death of the cross." Right. So Eleazar in this case was also obedient to death. He'd rather, take death than to not only taint his name and his reputation in his old age, but also to taint the minds of his people. Man, he didn't want to do that, right? So again, because we're coming on these times, it's good to read these kinds of stories, and also to read in Psalms, like these scriptures that uplift you, these scriptures that fortify your faith, because we're getting closer and closer to those times. So let me go back here, and I'll go down to the point now. All right, so this is verse 18 in Second Maccabees, the 6th chapter. It says, "Eleazar, one of the principal scribes, an aged man, and of a well favored countenance, was constrained to open his mouth and to eat swine's flesh." Right. So at first, when I was reading this, I was thinking that it meant, like, at first he was kind of like, I want to go, I'm gonna go do this, just to, just so they don't fuck me up. But when I looked up this word constrained, it's hard to highlight it in this app or this site. So when I looked it up, let me go into it real quick. This is constrained. It says appearing forced or overly controlled. He was acting in a constrained manner, right? Severely restricted in scope, extent, or activity, right? So this is what I found, right? He was forced. So they probably, grabbed him up and, opened his mouth and tried to force the food in his mouth. And then in looking that word up, that's the conclusion I came to, right? It says he was constrained to open his mouth and to eat swine's flesh, right? Verse 19, "But he, choosing rather to die gloriously than to live stained with such an abomination, spit it forth," right? So they got it in there, they forced it in his mouth, but he spit it out, and came of his own accord to the torment, right? So he's like, nah, fuck that. And this is kind of the same sentiment that Moses had, right? When Moses said this, what is he say? No, choosing rather to suffer. Let's see. Yeah, Hebrews 11:25. Let me go up in here, because I gotta jump up a couple of verses. Right. Hebrews 11:24 says, "By faith Moses, when he was come to years, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter, choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of the Most High than to enjoy the pleasures of sin for a season." Right. And this is the same sentiment that Eleazar had. Right. Instead of enjoying these pleasures, right, of sin, I'm going to say this while the thought is fresh. It doesn't make sense to accept the ways of Esau. Like in our case, in today's world, the chip. It doesn't make sense, because America is going to be destroyed. Right? There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, right? America's going to be destroyed, and for us to invest in something that's going to be destroyed makes no sense. Matter of fact, that reminds me of I think it's Isaiah 36. Is it Isaiah 36 or is it 33 and 6? Nope, here it is. Isaiah 36 and 6. It says, let me see. Yep. Lo, thou trusteth in the staff of this broken reed, on Egypt, whereon if a man lean, it will go into his hand and pierce it. So is Pharaoh king of Egypt to all that trust in him. So every time I read this scripture, I think of um, that chair that your granny used to put up against the wall and push the table against it so nobody would use it because it was broken. Right? You sit in a broken chair thinking it's going to support you, and you fall on the goddamn floor. Right? Trusting in this kingdom is much in the same way, man. America's going to be destroyed. It's on its way out. It's a broken reed, right? You don't need to follow this place. It's about to be destroyed. Whatever's going to happen to you, you're not going to miss nothing. America's going to be destroyed, right? And that's the sentiment you should have. America's on its way out. Okay. Um, Verse 20, it says, as it behooved them to come that are resolute to stand out against such things as are not lawful for love of life to be tasted. But they that had charge of that wicked feast, for the old acquaintance they had with the man, taking him aside, besought to bring flesh of his own provision, such as was lawful for him to use, and make as if he did eat of the flesh taken from the sacrifice commanded by the king. So they had a relationship with the dude. He was an older man. They said, look, man, look, listen, you know how Esau comes to you. Listen, I want to help you. Let me help you. Help me help you. Right? That's your fucking Esau's a devil, man. But they pulled him aside and they said, look, man, we're gonna give you some of your meat, some things that's lawful for you, and just take it, man. Just to just take it. For your family. Think about your grandchildren, right? Just go ahead, take this, you know. And he still is like, nah, man, I'm not doing it, And these types of things are gonna happen, right? There might be like you have people uh this goddamn Michelle Obama, right? You got this guy Rizza Islam. He put a post up about her getting the jab, and he said, did you really get this, or you just pump faking the people? Is it something that you really took? You know, and that's what they're doing, man. And the elder apostles have always said this, that they're going to use famous people and public figures to make you feel like it's safe, man. You know, and this is what they were trying to do to Eleazar here, right? So it says that in so doing he might be delivered from death, and for the old friendship with them find favor. But he began to consider discreetly, and as became his age, and the excellency of his ancient years, and the honor of his grey head, whereon was come, and his most honest education from a child, or rather the holy law made and given by the Most High, therefore he answered accordingly, and willed them straightways to send him to the grave. For it becometh not our age, said he, in any wise to dissemble, whereby many young persons might think that Eleazar, being fourscore years old and 10, were now gone to a strange religion. And so they, through mine hypocrisy, and desire to live a little time and a moment longer, should be deceived by me, and I get a stain to mine old age and make it abominable. Yeah, a good friend of mine, um, when I was in the world, his father said that he he would say to us, when we, being young men, you challenge an older man, but he would always say, I'm an old man. If they give me life in prison, I don't have long to stay in there. He said, but can you do life? Right? So Eleazar's sentiment is, look, I only got a few years left, right? So not only am I gonna stain myself with that little bit of time, with this hypocrisy, but these younger people, they're gonna think that it's cool to do it, man. That it's okay, you know. It says, for though for the present time I should be delivered from the punishment of men, right? For just for a little while, yet should I not escape the hand of the Almighty, neither alive nor dead. Wherefore now manfully changing this life, I will show myself such as one as my age requireth, and leave a notable example to such as be young to die willingly and courageously for the honorable and holy laws. And when he had said these words, immediately he went to the torment. They that led him, changing the good will they bare him a little before into hatred, because the foresaid speeches proceeded, as they thought, from a desperate man, a desperate mind. But when he was ready to die with stripes, he groaned and said, it is manifest unto the Lord that hath the holy knowledge, that whereas I might have been delivered from death, I now endure sore pains in body by being beaten, but in soul am well content to suffer these things, because I fear him. And thus this man died, leaving his death for an example of a notable courage and a memorial of virtue, not only unto young men, but unto all his nation. Right? So that's that, man. I think that's a beautiful story. I'm gonna think through, and Lord's will in the next couple of days, keep doing this, finding stories. Like, I think I did Stephen a couple of weeks ago, maybe a week ago. Um, we can talk about, we've read Second Maccabees, the seventh chapter, so many times. I know I have. But that would be a good story to reference. Um, and not only men that died or were willing to die, but um, or not only men that died, but men that also are were willing to die. Right? There's some stories that um, um, where you didn't necessarily read the account of the death, right? But you knew that that's what was going to happen, right? So there's plenty of stories like that. And then I'll maybe get into Psalms, and just to build up our faith, and start thinking on these types of things. Start thinking on, um, for instance, in my case, I think about my children a lot, right? And like how defensive I get when I think of somebody harming them, right? And learning how to let it go and let the Lord do what He's going to do. Um, we're going to need that mindset, right? And I pray that Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai will give us a strong mind and that time to deal with those types of things, because those things are going to happen, man. Right? They're inevitable, and they have to happen so that we can get out of here, right? So that we can live freely as the way the Lord intended for us to live. All right. So with that, I want to give all praises to Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai Bashem Rachak Dash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Honor and salutations to the elect. And with that, I say Shalom.